nicely. I love just the point of her withers down, sloping through her back. I think she puts that together very well. She has the length of body that I'm looking for. She's nice and filled out through her barrel, down through her chest there. She actually gets out very nicely. I like to fix probably her mammary system just a little bit. She's not really in milk right now, but I'd like to see maybe a little bit more of just a V-shaped angle to the back there when she does get filled out. Very nice headset to her, though. The doe here in second. Love her from the mammary system standpoint. You can tell she's very productive. She maybe gets a little bit shorter in her hip and her thurls when you look at her on the move. She gets a little bit more straight as you get down into her hock there. But otherwise, beautiful headset to her. I think she's a very nice doe for the breed. Very good class. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that starts off the 2024 Muscatine County Fair.
Yay!
It's Wednesday.
Wednesday.
That means we're just getting started, right, Toby?
Right, we're just getting started.
Just getting started. So we are at the Daufeldt Show Ring out at the Muscatine County Fairgrounds in West Liberty.
Class
Today
winner
is
goes
the
to Kelsey Heath.
Dairy Goat Show.
Second place,
which,
Kendall
as we know,
Heath.
just like folks,
Next
for those
up,
of
we
you that
have
follow us
class
in sports,
360,
this for
all
me will
Nigerian
be
dwarf
much
and
like a
mini breed
volleyball
does,
broadcast.
dry doe
I
in
know
age, freshened
very,
at
very
least
little
once,
other
3
than
entries.
the goats are trying to eat my cables.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm here to learn right along with you, for those of you that don't know what's going on. But as you all know, the Muscatine County Fair has been going on for 654 years now.
Also, if you would like
one
lunch,
of the oldest
River
in the
Valley
state,
set
if I
up
remember
over here
correctly.
for all 4-H
And
FFA
this is
families.
a tremendous program. The 4-H FFA show is, well, Toby, your family's gone through all this. Why don't I let you talk about this?
You know, it's a year-round thing. You know, it's kind of like what they do for the sports. You know, these kids are dedicated to putting in the work of different types of things, like, you know, from weaning animals to getting them ready for show day, you know, practicing leading, you know, getting up early in the morning, doing chores, and, you know, not so much maybe for the dairy side of it, you know, the goat side of it, but there's a lot of physical labor that goes into getting them ready for show day. Practicing walking them, practicing setting them up the right way, you know, and obviously getting up early in the morning and taking care of them all day long. It's not something that you just walk out in a ring and walk around in a circle. You know, there's a lot more to it than just that.
Absolutely. Well, and that was one thing that, you know, earlier, just before we went live, the judge, Cami Marr, was talking about how she was saying how a great presenter can take an average goat and bump them up a ways.
Yep.
And, you know, it was all, you know, if you talk with any FFA leader, they're going to say it's about growing full and complete individuals. And, you know, it's not just about the goat, it's about helping the kids learn how to become better human beings,
Right.
better presenters, better communicators, better, you know, all the way across the board.
Correct.
And that's what I love about how early this starts.
Yep.
Maybe a little later we'll get local FFA legend Ashley Wiebe on.
That'd be phenomenal.
And
She's
see
a
if
sheep person normally, but you know, from what little I know about her, you know, she's been involved with the fair. If it wasn't for her, we'd probably have half the beef animals that we have up in that beef barn right now, which is kind of scary. You know, because, you know, she'll get people to volunteer. You know, she'll grab a kid and say, hey, you're going to show a calf for me this year. And it's amazing that she can get them to do that, first off. And without her, that beef barn would be half as full as it is already. And I remember when I was in doing it, it was full both sides and people were doing it, but it's become such a expensive hobby, so to speak.
Well, that's very, very true. And that's one thing, as we, I'm sure as Ashley comes on, and I'm sure we'll get super legend Sam Paul on later. And, you know, talk about what all the kids are doing. And that's the Muscatine side. Obviously, we'll get some of the other folks from the surrounding communities and programs on as well. But I think we're getting ready to turn it back over to Cami for the judging.
Yeah, it looks like this would be the second class of the Nigerian, am I saying that right? Dwarf and mini breed does. So it looks like there's 3 in this class. It'd be Kelsey Heath, Kendall Heath, and Kelsey Heath. Is that correct?
That sure looks right to me.
All Lake 4-H. And like I said, I mean, don't know a ton of knowledge about goats, but it does seem to have the same type of, same type of characteristics that they want, just in a smaller package than what I'm used to from what little bit I've gathered. So
we're going to have to see if somebody can write me up a Dairy Goats for Dummies book. And then after they do that, they can write a Cattle for Dummies.
Pigs for Dummies.
And Pigs for Dummies. Bacon Buddies I got under control.
You got that under
one
control?
I got that one. We'll do that later tomorrow afternoon.
Hello. As we get out into
We'll turn
our
it over.
any age doe class here, they've all been in milk at least once. Overall, very nice class of Nigerian dwarfs. The leadoff doe here for me, she really just kind of puts it all together. She actually is pregnant right now, but she holds herself very, very well. She moves really freely around the ring, and I like the length of the top that she has here. Very nice, strong set to her head, really pushed out in a good way in her chest there, and I think she's a very nice doe in this class to start us off. In second place here, one that I think really closely follows the one in first. I'd like to see maybe a little bit more higher set to the tail, but she gets out and moves very well. Maybe just a little bit less of a range of motion on the front half, but another very nice doe in this class. Out here in third, I would just like to piece her together just a little bit better. She kind of dips down a little bit in her chine, and she gets a little too straight from the withers back to her pin bones there. But otherwise, I think she's very productive looking. She does have a nice set to her udder back here, and the teats are pointing very nicely. So I know she will still be a very productive doe, but a very nice class here today. Thank you.
Now they should be getting ready for Nigerian dwarf mini breed mother-daughter. Is that
Right, and so I think this is one where Mallory Brun will be running halfway through.
First place, Kelsey
Across
Heath.
the-
Second place, Kendall Heath. Third place, Kelsey Heath. Next class is 370 Nigerian dwarf and mini breed mother-daughter. 2 entries.
So there'll be 2 entries in this, and this will be Kendall Heath and Kelsey Heath again. And then after that, they'll be picking the champion non-milking and reserve champion non-milking, which I think means they just haven't had a baby goat yet. I don't know what the term baby goat is. I know what it is for like.
Isn't it a kid?
Is it a kid?
I think it's a kid.
I think it's a kid. Yeah, I think that's right. But
If not, it is now.
it works for me. So there's just 2 in this class, and then they'll do the non-milking side, and then we flip it over. Looks like River Valley is getting set up behind us for feeding the exhibitors.
I say I don't know what they're doing, but it smells good.
Yeah, that's one thing that they normally try to do for the 4-H and FFA exhibitors is they'll feed them. Tomorrow will be pork, obviously.
Obviously.
Yeah, because but then we'll do the beef. They'll do a ribeye sandwich over there, and then you're more than welcome to pay for them as well too. If you want something like that.
Yeah, and while we're talking about that, we should, while I'm thinking and smelling the lovely food behind us, the fair is loaded up this year, guys.
Yeah, I've seen
There's
a lot.
Marty's is here.
Yep.
Oh, geez. The
New.
Pig Crew Barbecue. I don't have the list in front of me, but oh my goodness, there's more food here this year than I've seen in a long time.
I walked the Midway earlier, and of course I saw my Eero stand, so I got to get one of those.
Oh yeah.
That's a go-to for the fair.
Yep.
It's one of my things.
It's like right outside my office.
That's
so
not a good
for
thing
the week.
yeah.
No, it's not.
They got a couple new ice cream stands. One new one here in West Liberty. that opened up a couple weeks ago, and they're here.
Well, and then there's going to be. I think we're. And for all you Muscatine folks, well, actually not just Muscatine. I mean, she's a Midwest artist now. Let's be real. Monica Austin will be at the Midway Pavilion tonight.
Okay.
Just as the stock car races get started.
That'll be kind of interested in to see on what kind of turnout they get for that. Hoping there's some cars here.
Yeah, I think it's
I
think it's looking pretty good from what I understand.
Good. It's something I grew up on as well. That dirt track and I on Saturday nights spent a lot of time together.
My father-in-law was a big dirt track guy when I first met my wife.
We get out into our first mother-daughter class of the day. Really solid set here. I can see a lot of great similarities between them, some differences. Kind of for me today, you're looking for that uniformity and still following your breed characteristics and also just overall good confirmation of the does out here. I'd say it was really tough because we have one pair out here where the mother's just pretty outstanding in the way her head is set throughout her body. The daughter I've talked about before, maybe a little bit, would like to see her a little bit more pieced together better. And you have your other set over here. They resemble each other very nicely. They're very nice and uniform. I do like the memory system on both of these does, so it's very hard to kind of pick through them a little bit. I'd have to say today, though, I have to go with the pair over here just because the mother is great. I'd like to see a little bit more differences in the daughter, but otherwise a really nice set right here in the mother-daughter class, and this will be your reserve. Thank you.
Kind of the way I would have went. A lot of the similarities that I would have went with. She did say I would definitely like to piece the one a little bit smoother, better package, I guess, so to speak.
What is
Winner of that class
She
was
looked like
Kelsey
she's in pieces.
Heath.
You want to try
Second
to
goes
keep.
to Kendall Heath.
I don't know.
We will now be bringing
You want it to
in
look smooth all the way through. I don't know how to describe it.
winners
She's the judge.
Champion
I'm not real good at reasons.
Dwarf /
I can just go out and say, "Yep, I like that one. I like that one. I like that one." And I know why I like them, but I'm not really good at explaining why so much necessarily. The best technical terms in each individual circumstance. But I can tell you, I like the eye appeal and definitely the. Can I say? Teat on the radio or TV? Is that okay?
Well, we're not on the radio, so I don't care.
But I just don't know what I mean. Like her motherly glands or whatever you want to call them. I liked better on the other pair. I liked her structure better back there. But that's just me, and and that's one thing about judging it and putting all your work and all of the whole year into one person's opinion when it could be different the next day. That's the drawback of this game that you play. It's one person's opinion on one day, and the next day could be different.
Here's the thing, though. That's sort of like sports. I mean, you got your
umpires,
your refs, and you've got all that other fun stuff that, it is what it is.
And I think that's what's kind of hurt some of the stuff. Like everything's become so expensive. It's not just for fun anymore. It was always you wanted to win, and it was a little bit easier to win with just stuff right off the farm. Now you got to spend so much darn money on stuff, and it's just to be competitive. It's insane the amount of money that you have to spend just to be competitive.
Well, and it's crazy. That goes all the way across the board on activities.
Yeah,
a friend of mine on Facebook was putting, she's her kids play baseball, and they were up at state tournament, and it was like $60, $80 an adult to get in, and $40. I mean, it was like $300 by the time they got their family in.
Yep.
After they paid for them to be there and everything else, but it's everything's
Champion
gone up, so.
non-milking Nigerian dwarf goes to Kendall Heath. We will now do champion Nigerian dwarf mini breed doe in reserve.
Another,
milking.
it's crazy, and like I said, I mean, and the amount of time and like I never had. I mean, I know there's animals that are in air conditioning right now. It's insane,
And we're not.
It's not that bad though. I mean,
No.
I almost wore jeans today. I mean, I almost put them on, but I thought, if I'm going to be outside all day, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. That'll be Friday's gig. Yeah. Why is your forehead? Way to go, Weebs. You made him bleed. But, yeah. So, Ash, how's your fair going so far for you?
Well, it's been a pretty good fair at this point. I might have to turn this way so I don't catch the wind in this mic here. Been a good fair so far. Today's the first official day, but we've had, there have been 4-H and FFA kids here as early as Friday. So Friday was the booth set up, so we had all the kids up there in the 4-H building working on getting everything set up. So if you guys pop down to the fair, make sure you go up there and see all the kids' static, which would be non-livestock exhibit projects, and go see all the work they put into some of their background booths. The theme this year was, Jungle of Possibilities or Jungle of Opportunities or something like that. So it's got a very jungly vibe when you go in there. It's pretty neat.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's where they do like their pictures or putting together crafts and stuff like that as well.
Crafts, baking, photography, you name it. Pretty much there's a category for you. We just want to make sure these kids get as much experience, learning about different things in life as they possibly can. And then to go along with all those projects, they have to do a little write-up, and then they have to sit down and talk with the judge about what were their goals, what were they trying to do, what did they learn, what happened in the outcome. And sometimes it's not always the very best project that, you probably learn the most from. Sometimes those projects you end up with mistakes are ones that you actually end up doing better with kind of long-term here, too.
Right. And that's, like, say, it's about teaching the kids, responsibilities and everything else that goes with it. And learning how to talk to people. And
the skills you get out of this deal, whether it's 4-H or FFA or any of these kind of youth livestock, youth growing kinds of organizations is just tremendous. The work ethic, the determination, the ability to bounce back when something doesn't go right, because inevitably something's going to go wrong. Learning how to budget, manage your time and money, and all those kinds of things are some of these great skills that these kids can pick out of this deal.
Exactly. And then, so when they do the judging on that stuff up there on Friday, don't they?
Monday, actually. Yep. So they go set up all the booths on Friday, and then it's a little quieter around here over the weekend. You do have the parade on Sunday.
Yep.
And then Monday, a lot of people will start to move in some of their things for their livestock on Monday. Make sure they're getting their supplies set up and kind of staking out their spots in the barn a little bit, and then they've got all the static project judgings on Monday, and those kids will go through and get all their ribbons and kind of see how they stacked up with everything. And then Tuesday we kind of start bringing in some animals, and then today some of the shows start already.
Yep, and it'll go by pretty fast.
It'll go real quick.
Yeah, and then you'll get ready for the state fair, and then school will be starting. And
then it feels like summer's half over. Summer is half over, but summer's really over then.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I grew up showing calves, and this is kind of new to me down here on this end. It's still the same type of things.
Get into our champion Nigerian dwarf milking doe.
Just kind of listening to her.
Really nice set to sort through out here. There's a lot of positives, some differences that were a little bit more challenging to look at as they get out here on the move. I think for me, again, I'm looking for that dairy character, the angularity, and most importantly, how productive and how much longevity they will have in their herd. So for me, I'll talk about each of them just a little bit here. I really like this doe on the end. I think she maybe gets a little bit higher in her hip than the point of her wethers. I like to see her come up a little bit higher as she's on the side profile here, up through her shoulder and her neck. But otherwise, really nice set to her mammary, or the udder back here as well. I'd like to see her maybe a little bit more angled down in the hip as well. The black doe here, I'd like to lengthen out her hip just a little bit, but she gets out and moves really well. She really has all the pieces in terms of just the refined bone and the beautiful headset on her. I really love just the thick, solid head on her right here today. This doe, I love her when she gets out on the move. I think she's nice and elevated through her front end. She really walks well and nice and smoothly as you get her out here and look at her on the side profile as well. Really tough overall. I'd say today the champion will be the black doe in the middle, and then reserve will be this one on the front end over here. Thank you.
Wow. Kind of surprised me a little bit there.
Well, I think we're looking at probably a little more udder quality maybe in her than compared to a couple of the other ones. And Cammie did say that one will kind of hit her pretty hard when it came in too. So.
Yep. I mean, profile-wise, it looks good too. And she said it did move well. But the main thing is she going to be a good mom? And with her udder and everything else going on, that's probably what did it for her. So good for her. Congratulations to. Who was that? Do you know who that was?
Casey Bender here. So from the
We
Muscatine
are going
FFA
to
chapter.
pick the overall champion Nigerian dwarf mini breed. So at this time we need
That brings in the
champion milking
mom and daughter
of Casey's and the non-milking Nigerian of Kendall.
Okay, so that's. Okay.
So we're wrapping up on this
That's
breed
gonna
and
be
also
hard to get around her.
Yeah, wrapping up on this breed and wrapping up on all our miniature breeds here at the same time.
And then we go into, how do you say that?
La Manchas.
La Manchas
Yep.
does.
So it'd be a little bigger, so they would be kind of the earless ones that you'd see. So it's funny when the kids come to the Ag Center, like, oh my gosh, you've cut off all their ears. Well, that's actually the way they are. They're born that way. So just like cattle, you get different breeds and different color shapes and sizes. Any livestock species, you're going to get some variation just depending on genetics and breeding. So dairy goats, I think you probably see even more color variation and especially ear set differences than you would probably in a few others.
Some of them almost look like a miniature deer.
Yes.
With the way their ears are and
Yep,
stuff.
kind of the color pattern, and they get the little more of the long pointy ears.
Yep.
As opposed to like our Nubians here, they've got kind of these long floppy ears, and kind of your Nigerian dwarfs don't have much of an ear. They're pretty small for the most part.
Wow. Yeah, she's got mama written all over her.
Yep. That's what's funny, between all these different livestock shows, you're still, every species is different. You're looking for different things, but at the same point, you can walk from building to building and still see some of the basic threads and some of the similarities kind of flowing through stuff here. You're still gonna look at them from every angle. Still gonna want to see them get out and move, and it doesn't matter what species it is. Structure is gonna end up playing a role in things at some point. Is that form to function? If their structural base isn't good, doesn't matter if it's a market hog and you're looking for muscle, or if it's a heifer and she needs to be, big ribbed and deep and soggy, or what it is. They're still gonna have to have a good structural foundation in order for the rest of their body to kind of fall into line.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. Now, will she be able to? Do they take these same animals to the state fair then, or do they take a different
normally,
set?
I think most of these kids are not going to go to state fair with the dairy goats. I don't think this year, but historically, like a bunch of these kids out here right now are from Muscatine FFA, and they've done very, very well at the state fair historically. I think we've been the Supreme Dairy Goat chapter like 3 years in a row.
That's insane.
So I think they've won state fair several times. So we've been very competitive, and the kids have a lot of help. Steve Osmus, I'm sure he's kind of like a local legend around town. Or if you're at fair, I'm pretty sure about everybody knows Steve here. He really does a lot to help the kids with a lot of things. You've probably seen him running around town with his mobile petting zoo also. So Steve does an awful lot to help a bunch of these kids out, and he's kind of our dairy goat superintendent for the fair also.
Okay.
So he knows his dairy goat stuff about as good as anybody in the state, I would say.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, because, I mean, and like I said, for that accomplishment at the state level is amazing.
As we get out here into our champion Nigerian dwarf, I just want to say very good representation from the breed today. Two very nice does out here, very challenging to sort through them. The non-milking doe out here, I just love how she gets out and moves. She's so comfortable, and she has that elevation when she's walking on the side profile. I think she's one that's going to be really productive for a long time because she has that ability to be comfortable and the space to make her capacious as she gets more mature in her age. The black doe here, I just love her head set. I mean, beautiful head, nice, thick, and wide. I'd like to still make her a little bit more comfortable out of her hips. She tends to turn her feet out just a little bit when you get behind her. I'd like to lengthen that hip out a little bit, but I mean, beautiful udder on her. She's really nice and put together. I think just for me, just thinking of longevity terms here, I'm going to go with the non-milking doe for your champion and the milking doe for your reserve. Thank you.
Wow.
Oh, didn't see that one coming, but
Yeah.
here we go.
That's like I said. There you go with that one person one day. You know, and you're gonna have differences in opinions and
Champion.
different judge tomorrow might go the
Nigerian
other
dwarf
way. You know,
mini breed
and
doe goes to Kendall Heath.
But that's what
Reserve,
makes it kind of fun,
Casey
too.
Bender.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Next up, we are going to start on class 400 Nubian does. Kid under 5 months, 1 entry.
So now they'll start with the little kids and then kind of start
Okay.
working their way up
I
through
see.
the age thing. Different species kind of run it a little different, but as a whole, typically they'll get kind of your breeding females done and out of the way. And this show's a little different because it's either they're all pretty much breeding stock for the most part, or all in milk or will be milked at some point. But like for the most part, usually you start with the breeding females and then kind of go youngest to oldest, or if they're going by weights, light weights to heavy weights is
Right.
typically kind of how most shows will operate.
Never had any kind of goat product milk wise or anything like that. I don't. Is it? Do you have,
It'd be a little richer than cattle for the most part, but some people who have like some different allergies can get along sometimes a little bit better with goat. I think the lactose may be
One
just a
entry
little
out
easier
here
to process
start
here.
off our Nubian does today. She's a little bit harder to judge the younger ones like this, but I can see the potential in her for sure. She's just so busted open in her chest there, so you know she's definitely going to grow into her body and have that barrel chest that we're looking for out here to be productive for a long time. I mean, she's really still comfortable when she gets out and moves, and I like her out through her hip here, so she'll be first in this class.
one thing I did notice is like with the goats, and it's similar with the sheep. You set them up a little bit more. Goats, you just kind of walk, and do they practice setting them up?
Dairy goats, you probably
Class
don't have quite
winner
as much of
Delaney
that. Like when we get into the
Camp.
meat goat show, that
Next
starts
up,
at 2
class
here.
420,
Then you'll see a
Nubian
lot more of the
does,
setting
over
legs, and they'll go
1
to
year,
brace them
under
like they will
2,
sheep.
not
And
in
so when I
milk,
say
2
brace, I mean they're
entries.
going to stand in front of them, and they're going to push some body weight into them or kind of pick them up in the air a little bit. And the point of that is to get them to kind of, it's like you're flexing, right?
Right.
The point of it is to get their muscles to kind of pop out. And at the same point, it helps them stand a little stiller so the judge can actually evaluate. When you're,
Right.
I've judged, plenty of shows here kind of around stuff, and when they're standing still and in line, it makes it a lot easier for the judge to do a good, quick evaluation rather than when they're kind of wandering all over the place
Right.
here.
Well, when you get a big class of 20 of them in a room, in a class, it's a little bit easier to, like you say, walk down the line and say, okay, yep,
Right.
yep, whatever. And
Yep. Yeah, and this show, the Dairy Goat Show, will be small enough that you're not going to have,
Right.
tons and tons of them in a class. And like when you get to the beef show on Friday, if you get 5 or 6, 1,200-pound calves in a ring, it's a little different. You can't just like, oh, I'm going to scooch this one over here.
Right.
You actually got to walk and maneuver and think about, where you're going to be in the ring. But also think about, those kids with some of those projects have to work that much harder throughout the year just to make sure. You can't just make a 12, 13, 14, 1,500-pound calf do what
No.
you want without lots of practice and lots of time and lots
Right.
of sweat equity in at home.
Right. And that's taking nothing away from the work that they put into these animals as well either, because they're still you still
Oh,
got to
yeah.
break them to lead, and you still and you got to break them to know that you're not going to hurt them when you're putting them up on
Right.
and putting pressure on them and stuff like that too. So
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't really matter what species of livestock it is. There's going to be some kind of work ethic involved. They still have to be fed twice a day, every day.
Yep.
It's not like these kids aren't putting in any time and effort.
Exactly.
Some of them just be a little different. Like the cattle, you're going to spend obviously probably a little bit more time leading and making sure you're really patient with getting them to go so you don't get drug around,
Right.
And if you're caring more about the showing part of it, working hair and
Right.
trying to get, a good clip job, and showmanship makes a difference too.
Oh, gosh, yes.
The sheep deal, showmanship makes all the difference. And you
Oh,
can take
yeah.
a really good one and make it look bad by not getting
Setting it
down,
right.
getting in front of it, not getting it set right, not getting the top up, and shearing makes a huge difference too. The pig deal anymore, oh my gosh, you got to be a
Ugh.
good feeder. You got to work skin and hair even on these pigs. I mean,
Yeah.
I would venture to say most of these kids' show livestock have better skin, hair, and are more meticulous about cleaning and grooming than a lot of humans are.
I would agree with that 100%. I mean, it's insane. Everybody says, "Oh, I got a cooler, I'm going to grow hair." No, it doesn't work that way.
No, you still have to put in the time.
Right.
Our rule of thumb growing up, we didn't have a cool room until I was about done showing.
Exactly.
And if you're listening and you're like, what the heck is a cool room? It's literally what it sounds like.
Yep.
It's a big air-conditioned room that you take your cattle into, or sheep, or whatever,
Right.
whatever you happen to put in there. Drop the temperature down, get some fans
as
in
we
there,
get out and here to
get it a
this
little bit
class,
dark,
really
and it helps the
nice
hair to grow. And hair
representation of the
hair helps
Nubian
hide
breed.
mistakes, and it
I
honestly
think,
just makes
this
it
one
look
out here in front
a
really
lot
started
better.
it
Yeah,
pretty
but you think
quickly.
about
I
this as
think
a
she's
show. It's
very,
kind of like a beauty
nice
pageant.
and
Yes,
tall at the point
we
of
want
her
the
shoulder
industry
and her
stuff in
withers.
here, but
she gets out
Right.
and
it is a show at the
strides
same
really
point.
Right.
with a great length throughout the ring. She's nice and comfortable on her feet. And when you get a handle on top of her, I think she really has that springer rib to be able to grow into that udder. Just a really nice doe. The one here in second, I really like her from her her middle section here in her chest. I think she has a really nice length to the chest there. And I really like her as you get behind her here. She has a great medial support on that udder, and I like the teat placing on her. The one thing I'd like to change is just make her a little bit more comfortable as she gets out of that hip there. She gets a little shorter and gets a little bit more up on her pasterns. I'd like to lengthen that out so she's a little bit more comfortable as she moves around the ring. Thank you.
So she did go 1-2 just like they are?
Yep.
Yep.
Looks
okay.
like it.
Okay. So she did leave them like they are. So that'll bring us to our second class of
Class winner Delaney Weiskamp. Second, Delaney Weiskamp. We are now going to pick the champion Nubian non-milker.
Okay, there we go. So I was off. I
We
flipped
skipped,
it,
yeah.
before.
We had Nubians came in before we had our La Manchas come in.
That's my bad there.
That's all right.
It happens. World's still spinning, I think. Last I knew, anyway. But
Yeah, so if anybody gets a wild hair and you want to come support these kids, we'll make a shameless plug here for a minute. Obviously you can come out and come to the fair and come watch these shows, and that's a great way to support these kiddos. But another really good way on Saturday. At 1:30 is the ribbon auction. And so dairy goats aren't necessarily a part of this, but any kiddo who's got a we'll say market style of animals. So we got the cattle, the sheep, the meat goats, the pigs, and then broiler chickens or champion gets a chance to go in there.
We're here in the non-milking
wait 1
Nubian
second here.
doe
Listen to
champion selection here. Really nice set out here to look through. I actually really like this little doe. I think she's going to turn into something special. It'll be really cool to see how she turns out for next year. But I just love how blown apart she is through her front chest there. She has a really great set to her rib as you feel the spacing in between. And I really like her out through her hip. I think she's going to be really nice someday. The black doe up here in front. Again, I really like her when she gets out on the move. I think she's really nice and elevated as you look through her front. She has a beautiful head set to her and has that length and neck. I really like the set to her teats in the back as well. I think she's going to be very productive. Really hard out here on top. I'm going to go with a more mature doe with the black doe out here for your champion.
that's probably a tougher call. You'd like to see the younger one a little bit bigger, more mature, and see, maybe next year at this time she might flip them from the way she talked anyway.
Yeah, and dairy goats, you get a lot more maturity differences, and it's harder to beat some of those more mature ones. Some of your other species, it gets to a point where they don't look as good when they get mature, but dairy goats, they start to become more productive as they get older, so it makes it a little bit more challenging, probably.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I think she's going to talk about her reserve here quick, and then I'll go back to talking about the ribbon auction.
When I get out into the reserve selection here, we'll pull the second place from the last class. Again, some differences here, but for me, it's all about just being comfortable on your feet and legs so you can be active and have your longevity in your herd for a long, productive lifespan of the goat itself. So I'm going to go with the smaller doe, the younger one here on my left-hand side for your reserve champion non-milking Nubian. Thank you.
Is that 1 o'clock that the ribbon auction is that
I
right?
believe 1:30, I think, but
1:30.
everybody will start staging in things as early as 1. So, yes, so back to talking about the ribbon auction. Basically what it is, the kids are not actually selling their animals. They're selling their ribbon placing from their animals. And the point of the ribbon auction, Ben Danner was kind of one of the big people who got this thing started, and it's been great for the kids. A lot of counties, a lot of places will have
Delaney
those.
Wise Camp Reserve.
but basically
Delaney
the
Wise
goal-
Camp. We are now going to
We'll wait till she's done
skip
talking here for a second.
to class 470, mother-daughter.
There you go.
Following that, we will do class 440.
There you go. Make it a little smoother here to kind of transition between these things since they already have some of these goats out anyway. Anyway, so the ribbon auction, the point of it is to help these kids offset costs. We want to make this project something that these kids can do and learn from. And with as expensive as sometimes it gets, you got to pay for feed, you got to pay for your animal. Even with people helping some of these kids out, it still does get expensive. And we especially don't want a kid not to be able to have an experience just because I can't afford it.
Right.
And so a couple $100 here or there can sometimes go a really long way and make a difference
Just
for
a
some of
reminder,
these
if you
guys.
haven't
So
already, River
the point of the
Valley
ribbon auction is
Valley
people come
is
in, they
over
buy
here
the ribbon,
serving a free
and then that
lunch.
money will go to help the kids
Once
offset
again,
some of their
thank you to our
costs
judge,
throughout the
Tammy
year.
Maurer from Wilton.
And so
All of
it's
our
a great way
parents,
to
FFA
be able to
advisors,
come in and
4-H
sponsor some kids. Or if you're like, I don't want to pick a kid
volunteers,
individually, we do have a general fund too,
Extension
where you
office
can bring some money
workers,
down to the
fair
extension
board
office, and
members.
they can evenly
Thank you,
distribute it between
everybody.
everyone, or you can kind of designate how you want that spent with those kids if you don't want to buy someone specific's ribbon outright.
Right.
Always looking for good sponsors for that. If you're curious or interested about the ribbon auction, please feel free to either contact the extension office or pretty much any of the ag teachers
we
or
have
club
the
leaders in the
Pee-wee
county.
Goat Show this afternoon following the Boar Goat Show. So if you would like to sign up, we are taking 30 individuals, and that is up here at the microphone stand.
So they do a little kids with the goats too?
Yeah, they do a Pee-wee show at the end of pretty much most of these shows. So if you're listening, watching, not really familiar with Pee-wee show, it's basically a chance for little kids who are not 4-H or FFA age yet to get to go walk in with an animal. And most of the time, kids are kind of preset ahead of time. They know an older exhibitor. The little kid wants a chance to go in with them, or maybe it's an older sibling or a cousin or whatever. But if you're standing around ringside and your kid wants a chance, I'm sure we can come up with animals. I think they are capping it at 30 here for after the meat goat show here. Plenty of kids in the ring, and we'll kind of, I don't know how many numbers we have in the barn for goats to be able to use. But still, that's, that'd be tremendous to get that many little kids out in the barn and just give them a taste to see, hey, what's it like to actually drag an animal into the show ring, and mom and dad, grandma and grandpas can get some good pictures, and just a little fun activity when everything else is all said and done for the kids.
Yeah, because it's something for the kid, and that's what it's about. It's about letting the kids have an experience of what it's actually like you said.
Yep, absolutely.
So is kind of on a side note, is Avery sponsored by Muscatine FFA? Or?
So he's talking about Avery Schroeder. She's one of our candidates in the Fair Queen contest, and actually this year all 4 of the candidates all happen to be Muscatine FFA kids. So we haven't officially sponsored any of them because our goal is to support all of them. I believe Avery is sponsored by Schroeder Auctions, and then the other girls competing also would be Rin Miller, and I think she's sponsored by Eichelberger Law Office. And then Kaylin Hewitt would be another one. And I'm not officially sure who she's sponsored by. And then our 4th candidate would be Addie Wegan, and I'm not 100% sure who she's sponsored by either. But yes, those 4 young ladies are all Muscatine FFA members. I think this is the first year ever that all the candidates have been Muscatine FFA students. Usually there's a lot more variety with some of the other schools and 4-H clubs and things represented. This year just happened to be the way it all shook out. So
yeah, that's interesting.
So those girls will actually be competing today and going through a bunch of stuff, and you'll see all of them will be walking around the fair. They'll wear their little sashes. Some of them will get to wear some little crowns and things, but they'll all be kind of walking around. All of them went through the parade on Sunday afternoon there. So
And then they'll pick the winner tonight at 5. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
And then the overall winner for the Fair Queen thing will get to a chance to go compete up at the State Fair Queen contest. That is a whole shebang in itself, as you're kind of familiar with here.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter was the Fair Queen. What was that,
Now we have
4
the
years
Nubian
ago?
milking
5
shows
years ago,
out
something
here.
like that. And
And
wasn't
this will
really
be
into
for
the
first and
pageant-y
second
type
place in this
stuff.
class, but also champion
But
and
she
reserve
highly
for the
recommends
Nubian
it
milking
to
does.
anybody.
Actually, very
you know,
challenging
and
class out here.
Sorry, I gotta let her
It
talk.
was kind of hard to pick it apart in my mind, I guess, what I'm looking for, because there's really good positives in both of these does, but there's also a couple things I'd like to fix on them. When I get out here on the Daufeldt doe, I love how she has that capacity. She has that depth of rib and that just the length of rib as you get in between. She has the spacing to actually add capacity to her. I love the set to her udder back here. Her teats are placed very nicely. She has the medial line to bring that capacity to both halves of the udder there. I'd like to lengthen her out in the hip a little bit. But other than that, I mean, she has the angularity. She has a soft, pliable skin for her dairy characteristics. Overall, very nice doe. When I get over here into this doe, I actually like how she moves a lot better out here. She's a lot smoother on the walk, a lot more comfortable. She has the length of hip that I like to see, but I like to just bust her out a little bit more in her chest. She gets a little bit too narrow for me, but I do like the refined look that she has to her bone on her. So actually a very challenging class for myself, but I got to have the one that puts a little bit more onto the dairy characteristic side for me to be champion today, which will be your Dapple in first and champion, and the one behind her in second reserve. Thank you.
But yeah, I do highly recommend it. You get to do a lot of fun things up in Des Moines. You know, not just, you know, you get to go to a court. You get to go to the house. You know, you get to do a lot of fun things, and you get to meet a lot of new people.
Camp. I like the camp.
Huh.
If you didn't understand that, the winner was Delaney Whitcamp, and second was Delaney Whitcamp.
That's cute. But yeah, I mean, I highly recommend it. You know, it's something that builds character, and you, like I said, you get to meet so many different people from the state of Iowa, and have a lot of fun with that as well.
And actually, most of those girls that are in this, especially this year, all 4 of them, they all actually have animal projects here too.
That's even better.
So it makes it a little more challenging for them because they have to kind of bounce back and forth between taking care of their animals and making sure their queen duties are kind of taken care of here as well. So a lot of these kids that you'll see are kind of doing double or triple duty with things. You know, you've got kids in multiple barns showing a lot of different species and having to time out and manage that. You've got kids that are also involved in, you know, the talent stuff up in the Grove. You've got kids that are involved. Actually, all the 4-H clubs have to go through and take a turn hosting up at the 4-H building to make sure that, you know, people have questions answered and things stay where they're supposed to and things go smoothly up there. So I think our club's actually hosting this afternoon for a while.
Okay.
So people are not familiar. Basically, the way the county fair system kind of works here is you can either show through 4-H or through FFA. So they're both very similar in the fact that they're both youth organizations. 4-H is more kind of community-driven, or that's kind of how it started. And then FFA would be school-driven. So FFA, you need to be in an agriculture class at your local school in order to qualify to show through FFA. And then 4-H, you can sign up to join a club, or actually now they have independent membership, but you still have to meet all the qualifications for things.
Right.
So I guess, again, shameless plugs since we're throwing those in here today.
Right.
Thank you to all the FFA advisors and 4-H leaders throughout the county, because this thing does not go without you. And all the show superintendents and pretty much anybody really who volunteers to help these kids out with stuff. You know, this county doesn't operate without all of you guys chipping in and giving back to the kids and making this experience happen.
Exactly. Yeah, it'll be, you know, and then like you say, I mean, when I was showing, I did my heifers in FFA once I got to high school, and my steers in 4-H, because steer show at the FFA is not
a little different.
Yeah, a little different.
Little different. Here, not so much, but State Fair, the steer show, they sorted into production setting rather than necessarily the showing thing.
Side.
So,
yep. And
little different ordeal.
Yep, and that definitely was not something I wanted to do. So what I did is I showed my heifers in FFA and my steers in 4-H. A lot of people do that with different animals as well, but a little bit different. I don't know why that is different. I mean, the FFA heifer show is kind of kicked off now all of a sudden again too, but which I like, as well. And it gives you another year of showing as well after
Absolutely.
you graduate. If it's something you really enjoy doing for FFA, you can have another year, after you graduate.
Yep. Yeah, so that's one of the differences, too, between the 4-H and FFA. 4-H, you can start as young as completed 3rd grade, but then once you have graduated high school, you're pretty much done. And then FFA, the state of Iowa recognizes if you are in an agriculture class, you can start showing as a 7th grader.
Correct.
All the way up
Okay,
until
as we move
3
into our
national
Lamantia
conventions
class, we only have 1
post-graduation
entry in the
or 21.
non-milking.
Right.
Under 5-month does out here. Very nice doe to start out the breed. I really like it when she gets out and moves, and just look how nicely she is set up, and just the length that she has going up into her neck. I think she just really elegant look when you get her from the side there. I really like how opened up she is under her chest, and just a beautiful set to her head. The one place I'd like to change is when she gets out on the move here. She kind of gets a little bit outside of herself. When she steps out from the back, I'd like to just probably widen her in her hips there as she steps out. She kind of takes her leg out a little bit too far for me, but otherwise a very nice doe to start off this class. She'll be first and then also champion non-milking.
So are all the Muscatine members, are they undergrad? I mean, they're not senior, they're not going to graduate? Or
Actually, all of these girls have officially graduated. Hannah might graduate this year, but Delaney has graduated and Casey has graduated. So these girls are kind of finishing up on their show careers at the moment.
Probably headed towards Ames, or?
I think most of them are kind of planning to stick around the area here a little bit. We do have tons of kids that are planning on going to Ames, and that's, as a Cyclone myself, it's kind of fun to see. As an agriculture-based school, it's exciting to see a lot of our kids are starting to jump in and go into agriculture-related careers, or at least attempt to study it in college. So that really makes it feel like some of the stuff we do is really paying off for these kids to want to pursue a career in that. Most of our kids do not come from an agriculture background, and so to be able to take something that they see in school and inspire them to go into a career in that area, that's, to me, is really awesome.
Huge.
Especially as somebody who's, extremely, extremely passionate about the field of agriculture. That makes it really, really worth me doing my job, really.
Exactly. And Iowa State is...
It's a good school.
It's a good school.
Yeah,
I mean,
I've
I've never had my dad graduated from there. My aunt graduated from there. I'm kind of the black sheep because I do like the Hawkeyes, but I mean, I still do like the Cyclones. I'm not like a anti-Cyclone, but it's just, everybody in my family went to school there, and I was kind of the one that didn't.
As somebody grew up in Minnesota, the rivalry to me probably wasn't as big of a deal. Unless they're playing each other, then don't get me started. I'll trash talk all day long. But other than that, it kind of is what it is. And, we had, Joe Wieskamps from Muscatine. I had Joe in class as an 8th grader. He's literally like the nicest kid ever. So it's hard not to cheer for, some of those kids and then, want to cheer for some of their programs. So I think when he was playing as a Hawkeye, I think I probably don't tell too many people this, but I think I watched almost as many Hawk games as I did Cyclone games that year or those years. And then Caitlin Clark, you can't not watch Caitlin Clark.
You can't not watch her. I mean, that's just, that's a different, that's just not. That's
not
right.
There is a sheep in the barn named Caitlin Clark in her, kind of in her honor. She's kind of a beast. She won the Iowa State Fair yearlings last year for Addison Lehman, and she got naming rights, and that was her. Well, we kind of jointly decided on the name, I guess, but that one was pretty easy. So, and actually, Addison's got her daughter here for fair this year, so that'll be exciting to see how she does.
That'll be good. Addison, that
really
is
nice class
a
of milking Lamantias out
that girl,
here.
she could outwork a lot of people.
There's a couple differences here, but they're lined up just how I like them. First place up here and then second behind her. The one that comes out in first, I just love her from the length of body standpoint. I think she's really strong in her top, and she still keeps that height at her withers as she goes back. I think when she treks away, she does give you a really nice view from the back, and I like she's really nice and supported in her udder there. I think the halves are very nice and defined on her, and she's very capacious in that capacity. I think I'd like to just maybe give her a little bit more width through her chest as you look at her on the front profile view. But otherwise, she's very nice and long and takes a very smooth stride out here. The doe in second, I really love her from her depth of chest and her depth of rib there. When you get on top of her, she just keeps that nice strong top and goes down, and the spacing in her ribs is really nice. I'd like to just maybe lengthen her a little bit. She gets a little short and a little bit choppier on the walk because she needs probably an extra rib or two there. But I love her set to her mammary system back here. You can see the two halves defined very nicely. She has a lot of capacity when she walks. She might turn out a little bit on her two back feet here when she walks away from you, but otherwise a really nice doe and really nice class. Those are my differences today on these two. Thank you.
Caitlin, she named, that's right, she did. I remember that now that you say that. Yep. She had a pretty good state fair last year.
Very good. Addison had a very good state fair last year.
But,
So Addison
Class
Lehman,
winner,
I'm sure there's people who don't know who she is.
Second,
She'd be up from West Liberty here. That's where she goes to school. So not a Muscatine FFA member, but Addison kind of helps show sheep with us a little bit.
Entries.
Has done a fantastic job with all her animal projects.
of course, being a cousin of mine, that helps me too. So
Yeah, there you go. And you'll kind of find it doesn't really matter who the kids are associated with, what FFA chapter they're from, what 4-H chapter they're from. If they really want to work hard and excel and do something, I don't think the agriculture industry or the livestock industry specifically is much better at, or is as good. They're as good as anybody at coming together and making sure if a kid really wants something that people find a way to make it happen. If a kid's willing to put in the time and willing to put in the work, there's always good people in the industry that are willing to help out and share supplies and share knowledge and advice to kind of make those things happen.
which is unique because
there's a lot of other industries that won't do it or don't do it to the same point maybe that we do. And sometimes our industry gets kind of racked on a little bit, and it doesn't matter what you're in, there's going to be bad apples that kind of spoil the carton. We're not all entirely innocent. There's times where you get a lot of stress and you got a lot of dollars riding on some of these things, and sometimes people may get a little bit barky, but the whole goal is to make these kids better. So me personally, I'd rather have somebody barking at me trying to make me better rather than letting me skate by and not doing my very best, especially if I put in this much time all summer. I'd rather get barked at a little bit and do a better job rather than, not getting the maximum potential that I possibly could.
Yep. And like I said, it teaches them something in the long run.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Life isn't always sunshine and roses.
Nope. So what are we doing now? We're judging still?
On to the La Manchas here.
Oh, so we're on to the La Manchas.
Yep. Kind of finished up on our Nubians.
You can tell by just looking. It's new to me, so. La Manchians. Now, are these based out of, America, or?
Another nice class of does
originally
here.
pretty much
They're
everything's
placed
been
right how I
imported
like
at
them
some
out here. Your
point
first
in the
place
deal. I am
here,
not
very
officially sure what
nice,
country, I guess.
When she gets out on the move, I just love the height at her shoulder and just the height of her withers out through her back hip here. She really is really comfortable and smooth when she gets out and walks, and I love the capacity she has to her udder back here. The angles are really lined up very well, and she has that width throughout her back. I'd like to maybe clean her up a little bit from her neck to her shoulder junction there. Gets a little bit dicey for me, but other than that, a very solid doe on top. As we get into second place here, this is a dairy doe. Beautiful, refined bone structure here, great angularity. I love her top set to her. Still, she gets a little bit too short in her hip for me and maybe slopes down a little bit too much from the pins down to the hip bone here. When you get behind her, great bed capacity to the udder. I think maybe it gets a little bit off in the uniformity there. I like to make her a little bit more comfortable as she gets a little softer in her heel. But otherwise, a very nice doe in second today. Thank you.
Getting a lot of text messages, are you?
Well, I've got several kids that, wait, what's happening? What are we doing? And I made sure that I text them all. River Valley is fantastic at making sure the exhibitors get a good lunch here at some point today. So making sure all those kids come up and get their lunch if they're willing to put in some time. It's a nice little treat for them throughout the day.
Oh, yeah. What is it today? Is it?
I would assume probably a burger patty. It looks like maybe a pork burger and some chips and maybe some applesauce and beans, kind of looks like.
We have one entry out here in our mother-daughter
I think we'll be okay.
class.
She's doing most talking
Steve
anyway.
just reminded me
she knows
that
what
this
she's doing.
doe over here is 8 years old.
Everybody knows I'm full of it,
and
so.
I can just say, wow, she's in great condition for her age. I mean, she is a dairy doe. She has a lot of great characteristics to her. And she throws out a really nice kid over here. The kid really caught my eye when she first came into the ring. I know there's some good genetics along this line, so this will be your champion mother-daughter class.
So,
All right.
okay. And then the market, do they do this as well for the market? Do they bring them up here, or do they?
So the market goats will all be in here. Their show starts at 2.
Okay.
So they'll drag them up here. A little different. They don't show mother-daughter or do some of those kinds of things. So they'll basically have, usually they kind of start with the breeding does, and they're pretty much all a commercial. Sometimes you can get like the purebred boars, which they'd be kind of a native of South Africa there. But as a whole, I don't think many people in our county have any of those.
Right now, we have overall champion and reserve La Mancha.
Pretty good La Manchas that we got out here. But no, so the meat goats, they'll start with the breeding goats and kind of show those by weight, because they're all pretty much commercials. And they'll show the younger does by weight, and then if they have yearlings, so 1 year or over, then they'll bring them in and show those, and then they'll pick their champion does, and then they'll jump into their market show. Some goat shows will keep does and wethers. A lot of them will keep the market does and the market wethers separated, so they separate them out by sex and still by weight. Most of the goat shows anymore kind of do it that way rather than mixing both sexes in together, which is interesting because market lambs, or on the sheep side of things, don't necessarily do that. So that's one of the bigger differences kind of between showing those species. Otherwise, really showing the market goats and showing the sheep are getting to be pretty similar.
Right. See, when we were showing the market heifers, were just kind of starting to kick off.
Oh, yeah.
And they were separate.
Yes.
Now, you still have a champion market heifer, but you can still be in the top 5.
Still get them into that overall drive. Our market heifers are so much better than they used. Back when they first started, it was like, okay, I have this.
Right.
Sometimes it was just a free martin that nobody knew what to do with. So
Right.
free martin, for you guys listening, would be a heifer that is a twin to a bull, and they're sterile.
Right.
So they're, as a little kid said the other day, it's pretty much just a meat wagon.
La Mancha. 2 really nice milking does out here. I think for me it kind of comes down as we get into this stage. Really, what is your udder like? What is your mammary system like? Because this is our main goal, is to be productive for a long time. I think there's a couple differences. They both go out here and stride really easily around the ring. For me, I'd still like to change her neck, shoulder placement there just a tad bit. On the black doe back here, I'd like to just make her udder maybe a little bit more uniform, but those are really getting picky on some nice does. But for me, they're placed just how I like them. Your champion will be up here, and then your reserve will be behind her. Thank you.
Yeah, those, I can definitely see a lot of characteristics that I like in both of those 2 does that I would say would work really good for any industry, whether it's sheep or cattle or gilts or, there's a lot of characteristics there that I like.
Good structured, big level, have some rib shape to them. So I guess as people are watching some of the different things we look for in the different shows, so over here in the Dairy Goat Ring right now, you're looking for dairy characters. So which one of these things? Oh wait,
Hannah Tills.
There we go. The things we're looking for here in the dairy goats, we want them to have some strong dairy character. And basically the goal of these things is they have to survive, they have to reproduce, and they have to produce milk. And to do so without, sacrificing their body and that kind of stuff. So we want them to be good structured, big wide rib cage, which would be similar to
Class
pretty much any species.
600, all other breed does. with 4 entries.
We want them to be long and level, have a long neck set. One thing that's different about these guys compared to, more of our meat style of animals is we almost want them to look a little bit bonier.
Right.
And the reason behind that is because we want them to put their energy into producing milk, not producing muscle. And if they're fat, they're probably not really that great of a milking animal because they're putting energy into producing extra fat. Now, that doesn't mean we want them emaciated and, skeletons.
Right.
But if you're standing up here looking, you'll notice that they are, or if you're watching, they're obviously a lot bonier looking than you're going to see. And they're supposed to be that way.
Right.
That's what they're bred to do.
That's my first glance when I come up here. I was like, some of these almost look like, but then I started listening to her, and I'm like, it started making a lot of sense to me.
Yep.
So
Little different priorities here. So that's kind of what they're looking for here in the Dairy Goat Show. So then this afternoon, when you get into the meat goats, they're like on the breeding side of things. Really, you think about it like, I like to think of the goats like baby heifers and baby steers, only it's kind of mixed with a little more look like sheep and goat, like with the sheep, and a little more of the stoutness and power like what you see with the pigs. So on the breeding meat goat side of things, you still want good structure. You're looking for a balance, which means when you're looking at them from the side, all the parts and pieces fit into place, and they have some look and some uniformity to them. But then we still want them to have some muscle because their ultimate goal is to make more market goats.
Right.
So you can't say, oh, this one's, a great female if it has no muscle to it.
Right.
You still have to have a little bit of that. But at the same point, they're supposed to be breeding. So you don't want to have one that's just all ripped up and muscly and is not going to be a good mother at the same point in time. And then on the market goat side of things, it's how much muscle can we pack onto the skeleton but still make it functional, movable. It's kind of like the steers for the most part.
Just a quick announcement. At 1 o'clock in the large show ring will be the cash dash for all the little kids today.
Ooh, cash dash.
Following that at 1:30 in the beer garden will be a funnel cake eating contest.
A funnel cake eating contest.
Go load up on funnel cakes and then make sure you find something to wash it down with. I think that was not sponsored by 4-H and FFA. Just throwing that out there, but
no. But it's all good. Part of the fair food and everything. And
oh yeah, got to get that experience. So I guess since we've gone through the goats, kind of hitting on some of the other species. So then, like when we get into the cattle ring on Friday, kind of similar for the most part, kind of what we talked about with our meat style goats, our heifers, which would be our females that we're going to someday hopefully use for breeding. Good structured. We want their belly to be deep and soft so they look like they're going to be a good mom. Big rib cage, wide, big feet and bones, 2-point. Still have maybe a little bit of some muscle shape to them. They don't need to be super muscular.
Nope.
Or at least not in my opinion. But anyway. And then I don't know if we really even have any market heifers there this year, but market heifers would be judged the same way as steers. And your steers are basically, we want them to have some muscle. Steers, we focus a little bit more on fat than we do some of our other species. Because with cattle, we talk about cutability and we talk about eating quality. And so when we cut these things open, we want them to have some marbling. So marbling would be the intramuscular fat, which is the fat inside of the muscle. And some people are like, oh, we don't want fat in our meat. Actually, you want marbling in your meat because as you cook it, that's the stuff that dissolves and gives it the tenderness, the juiciness, and all the flavor. That fat is not one of those it's bad for you fats. That's actually it's okay for you fat.
Right.
So that you kind of want in there. And as they age and as you get a little more external fat covered, they kind of associate those two things together. As cattle stress out, they tend to lose some of that marbling. So your goal is to keep them nice and cozy and hopefully get a little bit of some fat cover on them. Not to a point where they look like the Michelin Man and they're chubby everywhere. Then you have to trim some off. You don't want that either. Nobody wants, 2 inches of fat around the outside of their steak.
Nope.
Little bit's okay because then you can get it nice and burnt on the grill. And that crunchy fat's the good stuff, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. That's how you make it good.
I mean, So little more middle of the road for fat on your steers there. So that would be something that's a little different than some of the other species. We focus more on that. But again, we want lots of muscle, good structure, all the parts and pieces. It's a show, so we want them to look nice from the side. And so cattle's the one we'll really focus on their hair quality because it gives them that showier look, and you can make them look stouter. You can make them look better structured based on how you take care of and clip and manage all that hair. And it's really turned into an art form, and it's something super cool to see some of these kids building some of those skills.
Oh, my goodness.
That was my favorite thing growing up, is going to the barn and practicing my clipping skills and
Right.
working on that hair and just bonding with those cattle as you do that.
Right. And you know, and I got to be, they were my pets, you know,
yeah.
and that's what these kids deal with on all these animals is they're your pet, you know. I mean, as much time and money and energy that you spend on them, you know, they become a pet, you know, for a lack of a better word, so to speak.
It's all other breeds class to start us off here. Some really nice dairy characteristics. I can see the potential in a lot of these does out here. They're lined up 1 through 4, starting with our Toggenburg here at the end. Really nice angularity to her. I love the refinedness in her bone. And I think she's going to have a lot of room for capacity someday. I love just the deepness to her chest as well. Get down here into the grade doe. Oh, it's very nice, like level top. I really like the height of her withers going down to her back, and she has a really nice strong hip on her. I think she'll turn into something really special someday for a nice second place here. Get down into our Alpine. I love how she just so smoothly walks around the ring and how well she is pieced together. I'd like to add a little bit more width through her hip and her chest, but other than that, very solid doe. Back here in our 4th place with the grade, takes nothing away from her at all. I think she's going to really mature into something special. I just love the length to her ribs and just the overall capacity that she will have someday. She has that length of hip. I would just like to maybe clean her up in a couple more places to place her a little bit higher today, but otherwise a very nice class.
Cruising along here through our show.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you might have quite a break before 2 o'clock because it's 12 o'clock and we're at all other breeds already. Normally that's towards the end of the show.
Kind of the culmination. So we talked about our cattle then. I guess we've got sheep and pigs. We could discuss kind of what people are looking for with them too. So sheep side of thing, really not too much different. We probably place a little more emphasis on look and balance maybe on sheep than we do a couple of the other species. We really want them to be long neck, tall fronted. Sheep are kind of different in the fact that you want them to be shallower in their chest, meaning their chest looks kind of skinnier, and then get deeper in their flanks. So you almost want them to look like a triangle from the side, with their front end being a lot smaller than their back end. We put a lot more emphasis on that in the sheep side of things than we probably do anything else. But sheep don't have to be as deep and soggy-bodied as like cattle do, just because you don't have as much sheer weight you're having to deal with. You don't have as much mass from internal organs compared to a couple of these other things. But again, we still want them to have some look and balance and good structured and still have a little bit of muscle on the breeding sheep side. And then when you flip it and go the market route, again, how much muscle can we pack onto their skeleton, but still make sure their skeleton is built correctly, have some look and balance from the side also. Pigs would be a little bit different just in the fact that you really got to focus on structure hard, because when you get that much mass onto that small of a skeleton, it's a lot easier to, when there is a problem, it becomes a big problem in a hurry. So feet and legs become extra critical, in my opinion, on the pork side of things, especially in your breeding gilts, because those things have to stand up and be able to crawl in and out of crates, when they're breeding and this and that, and then still have some look and balance from the side. But at the same point, we really focus on, are they wide? Are their shoulder blades pulled apart to be able to lay that spine down comfortably in between them? Are they loose in their hips so they can get out and plant their feet and drive where they're supposed to? We still want them to have, plenty of rib cage and plenty of dimension and everything to them as well. And then the market hogs, it's muscle, but skeleton, and you really get the similarities between. I tell the livestock judging kids who are practicing for teams and things, really you're looking for the same things. It's just a different order in which you prioritize it. Exactly.
That's one thing that Muscatine does really well, as well as they put together really good judging teams. You guys take a lot of pride in that. Back to even when I was doing it, I'll never forget having to give reasons after listening to Jenny Knoll give reasons. I was like, oh my God, how am I? I'm like, what am I supposed to do now? Because you got this big, tall girl. If you don't know Jenny, I mean, one of the nicest girls you'll ever meet. But I mean, when she was giving reasons, she was bent over and just laying it, and I was just like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? I'm supposed to follow that?
A baller and a speaker.
Yep, and I mean, she used to show for my grandpa. I mean, back in the day.
Nice doe
so
class here in our all other breeds. Sorry, The one that they're placed just how I like them. The one out here in front, I think she's really nice and feminine as you just study her throughout. She has really nice angles to her, beautiful set to her head. I think overall a really strong doe out here. The one in second, I love the length of her neck and how she sets into her shoulder there. I love how she comes out into her hip, and she has a really nice V shape for some capacity out as she fills out in her udder. I just like to make her a little bit more refined in her bone work, but otherwise a very nice class of does. Thank you.
So does the Muscatine FFA do a lot of stuff with MCC then, or?
We do a few things here and there. MCC has been really good about kind of helping like the Southeast Iowa FFA stuff in general. Like they host our Colt Day, which is Central Officer Leadership Training. So they've hosted that several times. They help out with our Soils Judging Day. So they kind of help run a bunch of those things. So I think those ag instructors there have done probably a little better job here the last few years about, hey, what can we do to help you guys out? And a bunch of us, whether it's West Liberty, Wilton, us, we're the three FFA chapters in the county. It'd be Wilton, West Liberty, and Muscatine. But even Southeast Iowa in general, a lot of our schools will have sharing agreements with MCC, so these kids that are enrolled in ag classes can get concurrent enrollment credits.
Right.
So like a bunch of our kids, if you take a lot of high school ag classes, you can end up graduating with tons of MCC credits already.
Right.
Which makes things really nice. And even just not necessarily ag-driven, but school in general.
Right.
We've got a nursing program, kind of like an academy set up to help them get stuff done there. And we got a nice little partnership kind of going.
My son did some welding classes down there,
yeah.
so,
yep.
I mean...
Yeah, welding's kind of the same. There's several programs that they've kind of got it tied in pretty well like that.
He really enjoyed it down there, so I just didn't know if there was FFA type stuff going on down there too. So
yeah, and actually a lot of those, so the junior college level schools will have PAS, which is basically like it's kind of like FFA but for college, so they get a chance to go compete in other contests and activities and things too. And some schools take it super seriously, and some it's not as big of a deal. Like I went to a 2-year college out in Casper, Wyoming. I got recruited to go be on their livestock judging team. And we didn't necessarily get super involved with that, but also part of it was because we already had a really, really competitive rodeo team
right.
and a livestock judging team and a meat animal eval. We did a lot of the other stuff instead, so we didn't necessarily focus on those things. But I do know there are some junior colleges, some 2-year schools that do take it extremely seriously.
Right.
Like Black Hawk East, I'm sure a lot of people are in the area kind of familiar with them. Black Hawk takes it very seriously, and their goal is to try to win that deal. And they do have a very good livestock judging team, very good equestrian team, really focus a lot on the animal side of things as well.
When I went to Kirkwood, we had this thing where NAMA program that we did that we bring kids in, and like we would put a team together where one person would show a sheep, one person would show a heifer, one person would show a pig, one person would show a horse. And it brought a lot of, you would walk in, and I ended up showing a sheep because I got kicked off. I wanted to show the heifer, but whatever. That's a long story. But I ended up showing the sheep, and I was just like, it still relates a lot. You know what I mean? I still did a lot of the same things that I would, pay attention to the judge, make sure that, and it's just, it was kind of unique for some of the kids that have never been involved in, I say kids, but they're college, what I mean?
Yeah.
And, but there was a unique situation. I didn't know if Muscatine did anything like that.
We used to have kind of a showing and fitting class that we kind of put together, and our situation's probably just a little bit different. So like MCC doesn't really do anything like that, but as far as like our kids with the middle school and high school, we're sitting a little different just because we have the Muscatine Ag Learning Center, and that place has been such a huge blessing to us. And the fact that we can get our students who aren't necessarily from an agriculture background out to be able to see these hands-on things and give them more confidence to be able to go into an ag-related career. I'm a very firm believer that the Ag Learning Center has single-handedly given these kids chances to do things that make them more comfortable, so they, they can go into an ag-related career. They can go to school and have the confidence to be able to say, hey, I know what I'm talking about, because they've been able to see this stuff hands-on. And so we, every Friday, we'll take like our Ag 1 and our middle school classes and things out there, and that's what they do, is they do a hands-on kind of lab, so they can see, hey, how do we get these cattle and start halter breaking them? What are the first couple of steps? Hey, we had baby lambs born overnight. What are some things that we do to process them? Hey, we got goats here. Let's help halter break these goats. So it really gives kids a hands-on opportunity to be able to learn how to work with these animals. And a lot of them come in the first couple of days and they're like, oh, look at the cute little animal. And it very quickly turns into these things don't cooperate at all. You know?
Yep.
It's not all, like I said earlier, it's not all sunshine and roses.
No.
And sometimes there's hard things you have to deal with when animals don't cooperate or
Right.
when something, when something gets sick.
Right.
There's been kids that are like, oh my gosh, can't you take it to a vet or do this? I'm like, well, I've already treated it. The vet
Right.
isn't going to do anything more than what I'm going to do. We got to wait for stuff to kick in, and hopefully the animal responds and it gets better.
Right.
This was a little bit more challenging class for myself.
A little more wind.
Here today. The doe out here in first place with the young lady with the red shirt. Very nice when she gets out on the move. I really appreciate her from the side as she has that elevation up to into her neck. Love the length of neck. Goes into a nice refined feminine head. Really nice set to her back legs. I think maybe sometimes she can turn out a little bit as she goes away from you, but that's kind of getting picky on her. She does have a really nice start to her mammary system there. She's a nice one to put her in first place today. Second place was really challenging for me. Very similar does, as you can probably see out here. Kind of the differences come down to feet and legs and bone. So just the strength of bone for me. I think the doe in second maybe just has a little bit better length of bone, a little bit more straightness that I like to see in the front legs there. But she sets down really nicely as well. The one in third today, I think maybe just gets a little bit weaker slightly and kind of turns in at times. She's a little bit more tighter, and I like to widen her out in her back hips. But that's kind of getting picky on those two, but really nice class. Thank you.
So I worked at Hy-Vee for my profession, so to speak, and we've had a couple kids come through there that worked for us, and they said that you taught AI school too.
Yeah, we've actually done that. We haven't done it for the last couple years, but we have hosted it in the past where we'll get some cows from over in Kelowna. We've had a couple other people that have helped kind of line stuff up, and we've had several different companies and several different people kind of come in and help get everything set up and run the clinic. And sometimes we've done it during the school day, and we actually started to get kind of some older people who wanted, and when I say older, I mean like
Right.
past high school age kids who wanted to come in and learn too. And so we kind of started to push it more towards the evenings for things. And it kind of got harder and harder to do. One, a lot of these kids will start to, if you really want to do this, a lot of these kids will kind of figure it out before they get to
Right.
to us, or our kids. You got to start on a little different level sometimes. And it was starting to get real expensive and really hard to kind of get some of those cows lined up and then
Right.
to be able to store them for a few days. And so we haven't really done it here lately. Danny Beckman was kind of the one who came in and did most of the teaching per se and kind of helped organize some of the things. So we haven't done it necessarily for the last couple years, but that's always a good skill to be able to have, especially on the cattle side of things. So if you're watching, listening, you're like, AI, okay, this AI thing gets kind of complicated here in the livestock industry.
Yep.
In this case, it's not artificial intelligence, it's artificial insemination. A little different
A little
vibe there.
different.
Casey Bender third.
Well,
Currently in
and
the
now
ring
it's
we
all,
have
I mean,
all
on the
other
beef
breeding
side of it,
does,
I don't know if
milking
it's this
does
way on the
over.
sheep or slash pig or goat.
No. We're doing
But it's
champion
all about
non-milk.
embryos now, and
Oh, yeah.
and flushing and getting embryos and trying to get, because that way, if you get one good one and it works, you want to keep that going,
Right, yep.
and as much as well as you can. So a lot of it's embryo flushing, and getting as many good eggs out, and then just having a donor cow to throw it in, and
Yeah. So I guess to kind of unpack that for people, some of you guys are like, what? This is science, okay?
Yeah.
So we're talking about like breeding and genetics here. So AI would be a quick way to not have to have the male present kind of in the whole breeding program. And so there's a lot of people in the industry that will ship fresh or frozen semen to the people who are breeding their females, whether it's cattle, sheep, pigs, goats, kind of whatever. The cattle side of the things, they're far more progressive, and they've had this deal figured out for a lot longer. But also, because cattle have a lot of size difference, you can actually utilize the female reproductive tract far better than you can in your smaller species.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually, we'll say hand breed these things, where you basically need a couple of straws and some hot water, and you can kind of make things happen pretty quickly and pretty low key for the most part. Pigs, the AI process itself is very similar. The difference is you got to get your timing synced down a little bit better, just because of kind of the way it operates. And I'm not saying you don't have to. You have to have your timing very well down on all these species, but pigs is a little easier. And pigs, you get a little quicker turnaround. Pigs, they're popping back into heat just a tad faster.
Right.
When I say in heat, they're coming into their ability to breed, their cycle, I guess you could say.
Yep.
And then they will basically be in gestation, or they'll be growing their babies for 3 months, 3 weeks, 3 days, or 114 days. Whereas cattle, you're waiting approximately 9 months. Sheep and goats, you're more on the 5 months kind of side, So you get a little faster turnaround with the pigs. Sheep and goats is a little different. The process and things it should be more similar to cattle because of the way that they are built. The problem is because they're so much smaller, you actually can't manipulate that reproductive tract very well. So instead of being able to kind of, do this by hand per se, you end up having to do a minor surgery.
Ooh.
And so not only does it become a lot more expensive, it's a lot more time consuming and things, and not just anybody can do this,
Right.
For the most part, if you understand the timing, about anybody could AI cattle or pigs.
Our champion non-milking selection, a really nice division overall again. There's some differences here, but a lot of positives. Like I've kind of said before when I talked about them in the class, I think for me it has to be one that has the length of body, that's elevated in her shoulder, going up into her neck, that's higher at the withers and at the hip bone, and just overall is just comfortable. So I think that's the most important thing for that longevity, for that productivity, is what you want out of your does, and also just some of that growing into their maturity and that dairy character. I think that for me it's going to be this more dun-colored doe back here. She just has all the pieces that I just talked about. I really like how she gets out and moves along the ring. For reserve today, it'll be the Toggenburg here with the young lady in the FFA shirt. Beautiful doe. I really just love how refined she is in her bone work. I think maybe she gets a little bit tucked under herself, just where her front leg placement is into proximity to her chest. But overall, very nice division. Thank you.
Well, the breeze is kind of playing havoc with us here a little bit, but
oh my gosh, is it nice though?
Yeah.
If you are planning on coming out to the fair this year, you guys have severely lucked out. This is literally probably the nicest fair day weather-wise period I think I've ever had in my years in Muscatine now.
And we've kind of dodged a bullet the last few years in general.
Champion non-milking.
I mean, it hasn't been overly
goes
hot,
to Hannah
Tills,
Reserve, Casey Bender.
and
we are now
being
doing
in July,
class
in Iowa,
Oh, yeah.
all other
I mean,
breeds, milking does 4 years.
the
and
last few
older,
years
3
it's been
and
kind of tolerable. I mean, it hasn't been overly, I don't remember it being over, 95,
There has been a few years in here where it's been just brutally
Brutal.
miserable. But
And then a storm will kick up, and
oh yeah, we were trying. There was a tornado that came through. We were just talking about this the other day, and I can't remember if it was like it was pre-COVID, but it wasn't very many years before that. So that kind of flooded a few of the barns. We had to scoop a bunch of pens out.
Yep.
So it looks like we are getting ready to do our overall champion doe. So this is kind of for all the marbles here.
Yep.
As those guys are getting set, I guess kind of back to the sheep and goat repro stuff. So you actually have to do like a minor surgery for that. And so they do it laparoscopically. So basically we give the animal a little sedative. We flip them over onto their belly. We put them up on what we call a cradle so we can kind of lift their belly up into the air. And then they're going inside with a scope so they can actually see the reproductive system and put basically the semen directly into the uterine horns.
Yep.
And kind of hopefully everything sticks and we kind of make things happen that way. So a little bit different. So that would be just the artificial insemination. The big trend now, and you were kind of talking about this, is to do some flushing, which is where we are super ovulating the females. So basically intentionally getting them to produce a lot of egg, hopefully, a lot of eggs at one time, fertilizing those eggs and then flushing them out. So more or less what they're doing is they're taking a saline solution and actually running it through the reproductive tract or running it through those uterine horns before they implant into the side of the uterus, because obviously a female cannot have that
Right.
many babies at one time. That would not be healthy for anybody.
No.
But then we'll take those little embryos and we will actually put them into recip. So, it's the same can be done in humans for the
Right.
most part.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's kind of the hot topic right now. In cattle, they've been doing it for a long time. They pretty much have the process pretty
Yep.
well figured out, and it's not a big deal. Sheep and goats is really starting to happen here the last 4 or 5 years, and it's a little more invasive of a procedure with sheep and goats, just again because the reproductive tract is so
Right.
small, you have to manipulate it differently. Pigs, this is not really a thing
Just
in
a
pigs.
reminder, following the Boar Goat Show, we do have the Pee-wee Goat Show, and the sign-up is up here. We are taking the first 30 individuals.
For showing in the little
Under-
Pee-wee show. Make
or
sure you're up
younger
here
than
quick, I
4-H
guess.
age
Yeah.
for that.
Because they ain't messing around today.
No.
They're zipping right through it.
Yep. So Meat Goat Show starts at 2.
Correct. So we might have a little break,
Probably will.
the way it sounds.
Everybody can go walk around the fair, grab some food, talk to some 4-H and FFA members, take a walk through the barns, see kind of what everybody's got. I'm guessing at this point most of our 4-H and FFA members are either off exploring or finding some food somewhere.
Yep.
Maybe a nice chair in the shade and take a little nap.
Yeah.
These guys, for the most part, they're here early and stay late and show hard and make sure they get all their stuff taken care of. And I think we have donkey races. This is the evening entertainment tonight at the fair, I think, right?
No, it's races tonight.
Races tonight.
Tomorrow
Oh, donkey races was last night. No.
No, tomorrow.
No, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Man, I'm getting all my days mixed up.
You're all right. It's
That's-
okay.
I've already been here too many days,
Yep.
apparently.
So are you planning on going to the state fair then?
Yes, yeah. I will most definitely be at the state fair. We'll have quite a few Muscatine FFA members that will be there with some pigs and some sheep here. I actually don't think we have any cattle going this year, which is kind of a little odd. So the project kids that we have here, it's a little bit harder to drag that many species up to state fair, kind of with the way we operate things. If a kid's got projects at their home, obviously they're more than welcome to take them to state fair, but most of our kids at the moment that are showing cattle are housed at the Ag Learning Center. And so that makes it a tad more challenging for us to be able to haul everything back and forth. And like with most of their cattle, they've already been AI'd, so that we do that as
Right.
part of their class for animal science. So the kids actually will get to go through and help with the entire process. And so because of that, usually most of the people who own these cattle or are letting us borrow these cattle would prefer they come back and get back into the pasture and get back into being
Right.
being a cow instead of being a little show pony.
Right.
Okay, now we're into our milking AOB class out here. A couple that are not feeling too great,
Oh,
so
I
I
guess
don't
this
really want to
isn't
push
the end.
them.
We still had a couple
but I still
classes
got a really
left.
good look at them. I think I have these lined up just how I like them. First, second, and third here. I think the Toggenburgs are just really nice dairy example of the dairy breed. I mean, just look at their bone work and the angularity that they have. Just a really strong top line, and you can see that elevation up into their shoulder as they get out on the move. I think there's just some slight differences today. I really like the capacity she has here in her udder and just the suspensory system that she has here. Both halves really nice uniformity, and she still has room to grow on her. Here in second place, I like to see maybe just a little bit more length in the hip, but that's getting really picky on a really nice Toggenburg goat here. Our goat down here in third place today, I really love her bone work as well. She gets on the move really comfortably in her front half. I'd like to see her just lengthened out in her hip just a tad bit, so she's a little bit more comfortable there and doesn't kind of walk under herself just a little bit. Her udder halves are pretty uniform. I'd like to see one maybe a little bit more bigger on the other side, but that kind of varies as well based on production. But otherwise, a really nice class of does out here.
So we're close to the end, but that wasn't quite the end here
Quite
yet. I
that,
think
yeah.
we still have some mother-daughter yet for this breed, or for our AOBs here. So AOB stands for all other breeds, if you were kind of wondering what I was meaning by that.
Champion milking doe goes to Casey Bender. Reserve Casey Bender. And then third overall was
Perfect.
Wyatt
Oh boy.
You get enough pictures taken of me, you just got to pose for them anymore.
Yeah. That used to be the thing there for a
Next,
while
we
between
have
West Liberty and
Class
Muscatine.
Oh my gosh, yes. Zach Morris and I kind of had our little photo
One
wars
injury.
going. They got to be pretty epic, not
Yeah.
gonna lie. That was good, mostly clean, fun
Yeah, yeah.
entertainment
Yep.
for everyone. So we've kind of toned it down here to the last year or so. Both of us have been busy enough. We want to obviously make sure we're putting our students in
Right.
things first. And he's had some other things that he's kind of been to. And now that he's got Miss Bicey kind of helping out, she's kind of been more of the
Yep.
fair staple here, and he can focus on a few other things. And
Exactly.
probably not as entertaining for me that way. But
It's all good,
that's
though.
all right. Facebook won't be getting blown up continuously this way.
All week long.
Yeah. Or throughout the year, too, between ag teachers' conferences and
Great mother-daughter
Everything else.
class out here today. This is one of my favorite breeds of dairy goats, and I think these two are a really great example of just our overall dairy character that we're looking for. They're nice and uniform. I mean, they're basically twins because they're mother-daughter, but really nice class today. They'll be your champion.
rocketing through to the end. Yeah, so we mentioned, so just so everybody kind of understand, we talked about like the difference in the 4-H and the FFA thing. So there's 3 FFA chapters
Next up
in
is
Muscatine
champion,
County.
All other breeds doe.
And so we've got Muscatine. There are currently 5 of us that are instructors. There's myself, obviously, Ashley Weeby, and then Sam Paul. I'm sure most people kind of know who he is. He's pretty well a staple in the community. His kids are super involved in things and does a great job. And then we've got Dave Tomatich, who, again, I'm sure most people are familiar with. His family's from Muscatine, and he's taught for a long time and does a tremendous job helping with, some of our teams and things like that. And we all do a good job, I think, at jumping in where our expertise area kind of is and helping each other out. And it's really hard when you get multiple instructors in a program, and sometimes you get squabbles and this and that, but I honestly believe we probably get along as good as literally any chapter in the state. And then we got Alexa Coobs as well. And then new this year, Dalen, older one here, Dalen Garrett is popping over to help me at the middle school now too. So we got 5 instructors there in the West Liberty. We got Zach Morris and Elise Bicey. Bicey's been there, I believe, three years now.
Yep.
She did her student teaching with us, did a fantastic job. We were hoping to keep her and not let her go back to West Liberty, but, it is what it is.
But
Elise does a great job, and obviously Morris has done a fantastic job up there as well. And then Wilton, we got Olivia Sippy that's over there doing a great job. And then she's got a new hire this year, too, and I think
it's a wrestling Born. It was Born.
Born. There you go.
Born. Yep.
I should know this. Apparently, he's my mentee for the Iowa Ag Teachers Association now. So, but he's in good hands there too. Wilton does their community does a great job, kind of helping drive that program forward. So, 3 very, very strong FFA. Actually, really, if you look at the FFA map of things in the state, Southeast Iowa, which is the district all of us are in, obviously, is incredibly strong. Like when we go to contests and things, and somebody not from the Southeast wins, all the Southeast teachers are kind of like, wait, what? We let a non-Southeast school win? Not saying that in a cocky kind of way, but we are extremely competitive. And if you're winning things in this district, that means those kids are just absolutely amazing at the things that they do because it is incredibly tough. And so obviously all our schools are now, we're all very good schools and within the district as well.
All have different characteristics that make them all different but yet the same, and all have. But at the end, it's you have the same goals. You have the same.
I mean, the goals hopefully of any FFA chapter is to make sure that the kids are learning about agriculture, building their skills to become better humans. Premier leadership, personal growth, career success. That's kind of some of the things that FFA is built on, and that's really the whole goal is. How do we teach these kids about ag? Using the subject of agriculture to create better humans is really what we're trying to do.
And I can honestly say I don't know that. Not dissing on the what the athletic side does, but. It's a little different game over there than versus what you guys, we do on the 4-H and FFA side. You know what I mean? It's
You're still getting some of the same. I like sports as much as the next guy. A lot of people don't believe me that I was loved basketball and played softball and everything. Yeah, I know. I'm not real tall. Believe it or not, I'm fairly quick pre-knee surgeries. Anyway, I was pretty quick. But I like, especially watching sports as much as the next guy. But the things that we're doing here are you're building some of those same skills.
Right.
You know, the discipline, the work ethic, the showing up, the learning how to win or learning how to lose or learning how to learn in most cases. Where do you go to find information? How do you get better at something? How can you be coachable? How can you grow as a young person? Money management, all those kind. I actually would think we do a much better job at money management and some of those things in here than in sports. But you can get some of those same things, and as a perk, you don't have to be athletic.
Right, exactly.
We take everybody in the livestock industry or the youth show industry.
And like I said, I mean, if Haley wouldn't have been into softball like she was, I'd have had her. She would have been doing this, and she's always been, she's always been affectionate towards animals and wanted to be around them, and it's just, I wish I had the money to do both, but you don't. I mean, it's just, it's weird how you growing up and hoping that you have kids that want to do it, but you got to kind of swallow your pride a little bit and go with whatever
do
the kid
what
wants.
Your kids wants to do. Yep.
So, and she had a dream and made it happen, and
you can do both.
Right.
It just sometimes you're gonna have to pick and choose a little bit, and just got to decide too at what level do you want to do this. That's what's really hard for me sometimes after doing this. Myself growing up at an extremely high level in multiple species. Sometimes I have to make sure that I ask the kids, what are your goals and where do you want to be?
Right.
Because what I think should be a good goal is not necessarily what their goals actually are. And so kind of remembering what level are some of these kids at and how do they want to improve and what do they want to improve. Sometimes for me is a little bit more challenging.
Yep.
But ultimately, it doesn't matter at what level you do it. The ultimate goal is to learn and get better.
Exactly.
Or should be your ultimate goal.
Uh-oh. Oh, speak of the devil.
Oh. One of West Liberty's own ag teachers right here.
They do also have McMichael in there helping too, Melissa.
Yes. We cannot forget our assistant advisors.
Yes, she does a really good job.
Yes.
Kind of keeping Morris in check sometimes, so to speak. But she does a lot of the paperwork side stuff. And
yes, West Liberty has a great army of parents that follow along with a lot of that and help get kids to and from things also, which is really nice to see. When you don't have as many advisors, we're super fortunate in the fact that we have so many advisors. Mm-hmm. It's very rare that one of us is not, ringleading pretty much everything. But when you have one or two and you have as many kids in contest, you guys take kids to contests everywhere, especially the leadership side of things. Yep. When you get that many, you got to have parent support that jumps in and helps with things as well.
And it's just different. I mean, it's hard to relate to some of this on the sports side to what they don't get it so much maybe necessarily, but to me it's more about after school, after what you're making this into a better person, and I've been involved in enough hardcore competition athletic stuff that it's pretty cutthroat.
Oh yes.
But this builds character, a little bit more character, I think, and helps you better for down the road.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and select your grand overall and reserve grand overall dairy doe today. I just want to say fantastic show. I just really want to thank you. We still have the bucks after this, but really want to thank you again for giving me the opportunity to sort through the show today and for your time. This is a very, very challenging class. And I just want to say all the exhibitors were great to talk to today. I know everybody has like a grand drive speech. The only thing I would say is just like I took this opportunity, take any opportunity that comes your way that you're really interested in. You never know where it might lead you, and always add value everywhere you go, whether that be in the barn, being a mentor for others, in school, your families, anything like that. So again, this was a very, very challenging final drive for me. I want to start off with the Nigerian dwarf here, just talk about each one a little bit again. Very, very solid, non-milking doe. I mean, she gets out on the move really well. She has all the pieces together. I just love her overall body style, and just how well she's put together as she joins the junction from her shoulders. She's very level in her top, keeps her withers up a little bit. She's really comfortable on her feet and legs. I know she's going to be a doe that's going to really mature and have that capacity and to be around for a long time. The newbie out here, I loved her in the class. I think she has a really nice udder set to her as she gets out on, and as she gets on the move, she's still comfortable. I like to see her maybe a little bit more level topped as she's over her chine there out into her back loin. But other than that, very solid doe. La Mancha, really liked her. She made it very challenging in her breed class today for me. She has that deepness of chest. She has that length of body. She's really comfortable when she gets out and move, and I really like the set to her udder. Maybe gets a little bit more of a U shape. I'd like to see more of a angled V shape there, but really, I mean, you can't complain about that at all. Really nice doe. You get back here and do our AOB, our Toggenburg. I just love her. She has all the dairy characteristics you could ask for. She has the refined bone. She has the angularity. She's very solid throughout. I love the capacity on her. Very nice uniform udder. And when she gets out and moves, I think she's still strong on her pasterns. And she just has that levelness out of her front legs. Again, very challenging today, and I wanted to take a little bit extra time to make sure I made the right decision. For me, I got to go with your grand overall is your Toggenburg over here, and your reserve will be the Nigerian Dwarf. Thank you very much.
All right, that's for all the marbles in the doe show. So we have a grand champion dairy goat. Looks like Casey Bender, I believe, out of that last division here.
Yep.
And looks like Kelsey Heath with the Nigerian, if everybody's holding on to their goats, which I think they were here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they were here in this and that would be like your supreme.
Basically the equivalent to your supreme drives. This is the grand champion over everything.
Yep.
So that was the does. They still have to show bucks.
Okay.
I don't believe there's very many in there.
I thought there was just the one, and then
It was like one class of large breeds, and
yep.
so it looks like when he goes to select the bucks, they're going to be your champion and reserve champion overall buck right away, and Hannah Tillis has both of them. So.
And then I don't know what that is on the back. Well, that's the costume class.
Which doesn't look like there's anybody entered. So as soon as they're done with that, it looks like we'll probably roll right into some showmanship, unless they did showmanship
They did
first.
showmanship before.
Perfect.
Yep.
I was over watching the dog show when everything kind of got kicked off. So it's kind of fun. You know, obviously I work with the FFA, but I'm also a 4-H leader for Sweetland.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of fun for me to be able to pop back and forth to all the shows and be able to see my kiddos kind of on both sides of things.
Grand
How do you
champion
make
dairy
time for
goat
you?
doe goes to Casey Bender, reserve Kendall Heath.
I said something about
in the
texting.
ring we
I was
have
harassing
champion non-milking
some of the cattle kids this
doe
morning, and a couple parents that
class.
were sitting there. And I'm like, yeah, some people were texting me at 11 o'clock last night when I'm trying to sleep, and one of the parents was like, "You sleep?" I was like, yes, I actually do like my beauty rest here. I kind of need that, but it's just balancing a schedule. And you know, a lot of the hobbies that I have are things that I'm already doing either between the 4-H or the FFA stuff, and that's really why, you know, I got into the career field I did, and why I jumped in and volunteered to help with Sweetland as a club. Is, you know, some of the best experiences that I had growing up were, you know, showing livestock, competing in 4-H and FFA events, and that's really where I learned and developed, honestly, most of my skills. A lot of it I would attribute to livestock judging, because I think that's kind of the pinnacle of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I don't think there's anything better for me personally than jumping in a ring, than jumping, you know. You got to have all the blood, sweat, and tears poured into it first before it pays off.
Right.
All the work is, you win at home. This
Yep.
is just really where it's made official.
Exactly.
And so being able to have all those skills and have all those opportunities growing up, I wanted other people to be able to have the same things. And I always knew I was going to do something in agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't 100% sure what. And as much as I wanted to kind of go the animal route or the reproduction side of things, or some of those things that kept getting drawn back into, and I like teaching people about agriculture, and it's something I'm so passionate about, why not?
Right.
And we do have a serious need for ag teachers, so if anybody's
goodness.
thinking they want to be a teacher and you kind of like the agriculture route, let us know, because we're always looking for
Yes.
people who want to give it a whirl.
Well, teachers in general.
Teaching in general, yeah.
Yes.
we'll go ahead and select your champion and reserve champion non-milking doe. Very nice class, or division once again. The Toggenburg up here, I really like her, just from the side profile aspect. She gets really nice and elevated up in her head. The Nigerian dwarf, again, very solid goat. She puts all the pieces together for me, I think, when she's especially out on the move and when you get a handle on her. The Nubian down here, very young, but I think she's actually very stylish. I love when you get a feel on her and just love her capacity that she has in that Springer rib. I can really appreciate that one, and can't wait to see her later on down the line. And down here we got really nice elevation as she gets out and moves around. I love her length and neck, and she has a really stylish head on her. She kind of turns her feet out a little bit for me when she's on the move and when she stands still, and that's just being really picky about her. I think today for your champion, non-milking, will be your Nigerian dwarf, and your reserve champion today is going to be the Toggenburg up there. Thank you.
So that was
the non-milking.
Non-milking.
So it looks like we got a couple divisions that we squeezed in here kind of before our.
okay.
Well, that was in
Champion
milk, so now we got non-milking
doe
here.
was Kendall Heath. Reserve Casey Bender.
Huh.
So again, dairy, everything gets divided up just a little bit differently. Once again, because you have lots of different stages of production.
Right. Interesting. Like I said, the biggest thing to me is that you keep bringing them back. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that you can
Yes.
keep bringing the same goat back. It's, it doesn't work in anything else I ever showed.
No, it does not.
That way. So, I mean, especially like the steer side or the market side in general, they start losing their teeth and blah, blah, blah. You get a year out of them and that's it,
Yep.
Now is class 710 bucks. All large breeds. 2 entries.
Those are Hannah. Now the 3 girls right here, are they all seniors?
They are all pretty much graduated here.
Yeah.
Yep. So they're kind of wrapping up.
And they'll have to be moving in for school if they do go. There's she yelled at me and told me that I better be here for this today.
It's okay. I yelled at her in the cattle barn too.
She's a riot. We'll just say that.
Want to talk? Do some color commenting?
Goats.
Anything you want. Goats. Dairy
Pigs.
goats. Your projects.
Your projects.
Livestock judging. So we're harassing, probably not anywhere anybody can see here, Caitlin Thede from up at Wilton here. Is another one of our fabulous 4-H FFA members that gets involved in a lot of different things. She was one of the ones for Wilton that was really into the technology deal where they went over to Washington, D.C. and got to jump in with all that stuff. Super cool opportunity for those guys.
Wow.
Yeah.
With 2 entries.
She comes over to do some livestock judging. She's been on the Muscatine County livestock judging team. Her and I know we talked about Addison, and we got several Wilton and West Liberty kids that have really jumped in. So if anybody's interested in doing some livestock judging, please let me know. We're always looking for more kids that want to get involved and jump in and get to learn some things too. So Caitlin's kind of been a part of that with us as well.
Did you get Perry to do it?
Perry has actually come in. Perry actually, believe it or not, so Perry'd be
Wow.
Addison Lehman's brother there, so Perry Lehman. Perry, he has been to enough livestock shows where he's got naturally a pretty good eye. And he's got the gift of gab, so he can kind of make the reasons part of things happen as well. So we've mentioned reasons several times, I guess, for you guys watching, listening. So reasons would be where you're describing to the officials how did you place the class and why did you place it that way. So it's not just I get lucky and place it correct, unless you're Caitlin here taking some Snapchat selfies with us, I guess. Caitlin might get lucky enough. Maybe she can skip the reasons. Caitlin doesn't like the reasons as much, right, Caitlin?
I don't like them either. When I did it, I hated giving reasons.
Reasons is a thing that you got to kind of really work at it, and it grows on you. When I was a middle schooler, reasons were the ultimate worst thing ever.
Very nice class. I think there's some differences. I'm mainly looking for the masculinity, the width, the power they have, and just still tying into that overall structure and feet and leg quality because they need to be productive in the herd for a long time. I'm going to start with the newbie in here. I think he has that width through his back and his chest. I think he's really going to grow into himself really well. I love this, the flatness of bone to his front 2 feet there, and I think he's really comfortable when he gets out on the move. He does have a nice set to the testicles in the back. I don't think he'll have any problem producing. Our reserve champion here, another one, really nice and rugged as he gets through his hip and up into his head. I think he has the width ahead that I really like to see. I like to see him a little bit more filled out. But other than that, he's nice and comfortable as he gets out on the move. So congratulations. Thank you.
I just like how they just pick them up.
Pick them up and roll.
Pick them up and head them over.
All right.
All right, well, that'll
That kind of wraps up our Dairy Goat Show here.
It sounds like we'll be back around 2 o'clock.
Champion buck goes to Casey Bender.
Thanks again for jumping on here, Ash.
Oh, yeah, you bet.
Appreciate it.
Next up
Got
is our
educated a little
costume
bit
class
myself. Definitely
3
learned a few
entries.
things.
We have 3.
Oh, whoa, what are we doing?
Oh,
Is this a kids show? No.
no, I don't know what's happening here at the moment.
Well, it might be showmanship. Oh, here comes the boss. Look out. Is this showmanship? Is that what they said it was?
I'm not entirely sure. Oh, we do have some costumes, it would appear.
Oh, some costumes. Okay.
Yes, indeed. We do have some costumes that have come in for the costume class. So this is basically just a fun, let's go enjoy stuff with our project kind of thing. Some shows, some counties will do it, some will not. I mentioned earlier that I judge quite a few shows, kind of all over the country anymore, but one of the coolest things that I ever got to do, we had some llamas. I got to judge the llama show.
Goodness.
Right at the end, I did some goat shows, and at the end, they're like, hey, we don't have very many llamas. You want to jump in and judge those too? And I was like, sure, why not? So we jumped in and judged llamas. They had a llama costume class. These kids took a bunch of cardboard boxes and turned this thing into a dragon, and they had smoke and everything. It was somewhere I have pictures of it. It is literally one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a show ring.
That reminds me of back when I was in 4-H. We had the Hogs Are Beautiful contest, and we had this. My dad do where he put one, did the boot on the outside and looked all goofy, and we used adhesive and pulled all the hair up on the pig like it was a cow and everything, and it was a riot. Everybody loved it, and then they kind of did away with it, and we haven't done it really ever since. So anything like that I remember, then now it's more like the kids show. You know what I mean?
Yep. So it looks like our costume class, we've got a couple superheroes here. Looks like
Captain America.
Captain America. Looks like Superman, and I can't see what we've got in front here. Something with some black and yellow.
Missouri?
Oh, Batman.
Batman.
How did I miss that one?
Yeah, that's like my favorite
jumping right into
superhero,
our
too. I
costume
love
class
Batman.
Here. I just want to say I love classes like this because it really brings out the creativity and the hard work of the exhibitors. So I'm going to do something a little bit different and base this off of have the audience vote. So if we want to go ahead and just clap for your favorite goat, we'll start with Batman over here. Can I get a round of applause? All right. All right, and now Captain America.
Oh, boy.
Awesome. And Superman down here. Okay, let's hear it. All right, thank you. Yeah, this is really fun. I think you guys, I love it, how much work and, thought you put into these costumes. So I think Captain America is our clear winner here today. So congratulations. Thank you for a great show.
All right, now that actually officially does wrap up the Dairy Goat Show now here. I think there's a couple 4-H/FFA members standing back here. If we have any questions or things for them, we could probably throw a couple of them on really fast if there's some time here. So, it's like we're going to trade on some headsets over here. It's funny, everybody was trying to run away earlier when we want people to talk, and now you guys are like chomping at the bit here. So we got Kensley Paul So this would be one of Sam's oldest daughter here. We mentioned Sam a couple of times here earlier. Kinsley, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Not too shabby, not too shabby. So you've got quite a few projects up here between the 4-H and FFA. Why don't you kind of give everybody here, looks like we're getting zoomed in on maybe, give everybody here a little taste of what your fair is like and kind of some of the stuff you're involved with.
Yeah. So for livestock at the fair, I have 3 lambs, 1 for production, and then the other 2 I'm going to show in the ring on Saturday. And then I have 2 steers also, both market steers. So I'll show those on Friday morning in the beef show. And then along with with FFA, I have some 4-H projects in the 4-H building. I have a photo and a fairy garden. So those got judged on Monday, and yeah.
All right. What is your favorite part of the fair?
My favorite part, besides showing, is just like the environment. I love everyone bustling around trying to get their animals ready, and I don't know, it's just a fun environment to be around. I like the lemonade also.
Gotta have some lemonade when you're at the fair, right? Do you have a favorite fair food?
Corn dogs and
Corn
lemonade.
dogs. Very good. Kind of traditional fair going food, right?
Yeah, it's controversial, but I don't like funnel cakes.
I'm probably with you on that. I'm not a big funnel cake. So you're not going to the funnel cake eating contest then, I guess, later?
No, definitely not.
Definitely not. All right. Anything else? Any other wise words for everybody listening, watching at home here?
Thank you for watching, everyone.
Come out and enjoy the fair. All right.
Yes.
We'll kind of spread the love here. We'll pass this around. Maybe grab one of these other guys on here. Laney's all of a sudden out, it looks like. All right, young lady, you want to introduce yourself here quick? Maybe
Hi.
step over this way here a little.
My name's Mallory Bruin, and I have a few animals here at Fair.
So Mallory is a part of. You want to tell them what chapter you're with for 4-H or for FFA and what club you're with for 4-H. Maybe we'll back that up a second.
Yeah, so I'm part of the Muscatine FFA chapter, as well as I'm the president of the Stampeding Clovers 4-H club. So I have a lot going on here at Fair.
So tell us about what are some of the projects and activities that you're in.
So I have 1 pig. I have a gilt who will be shown tomorrow morning, and then I have a steer and a heifer, a breeding heifer, and then I also have a market steer, and those will both be shown Friday morning.
Very good. And you have static projects, your non-livestock
Yes.
projects as well.
I also have 4 photographs, and one of them just made it to State Fair.
Hey, heck of a deal.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mallory. Good luck at the pig show tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, looks like we're jumping ship to another one of the Paul sisters here. So we got Kaylin. Kaylin's kind of representing some of our middle school FFA members that we've got here, and Kaylin's also in the Sweetland 4-H club. Kaylin, what do you guys have here today? We heard what Kensley's got, but how about your projects?
I have 2 steers, and then I have a returning bucket calf. And then I also have 3 lambs and a bucket calf.
Plenty busy then. How about your non-livestock projects?
I just have 3 photos.
Very good. Photos are kind of we can make sure we get something cool in there that who your guys' age doesn't walk around taking pictures of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Plenty of chances to bring some of those kind of things in. All right. Are we going to hear from Lainey a little bit? All right, Lainey, kind of introduce yourself, your 4-H club, your FFA chapter.
Hi, I'm Lainey, and I'm in Muscatine FFA, and I'm in Stampeding Clovers 4-H.
All right, very good. What are some of the projects you have at Fair this year?
I have 2 goats, and then I have a horse, and then I have 2 rabbits, and then I show 1 static photography.
Very good. So they're kind of all over, spread out. And
Yeah.
horses are a little bit different than some of the rest of our animals. They actually don't come in until they actually show. So your horse will not be around until Saturday.
Yeah, and then we come Saturday and we leave Saturday night.
Yep. So a little bit different. They don't have a barn necessarily to set up in, but kind of a quicker in and out. But you guys will have a very full day because most of the people who are showing horses are in multiple classes. So they get to go they have a little bit more back and forth and in and out maybe than some of the other species do. But the difference is you're not using probably quite as many animals. Most of the animals we show in, like our sheep, cattle, pigs, they can kind of be entered in one class, whereas horses, you can enter them in pretty much as many as you really want to either be in or pay for as the horse is good at also. So, and this is Lainey's first year showing goats, so going to check that out a little bit, see if she likes it, and kind of where we go from there.
Yeah.
All right, any other wise words for the people at home here, Lainey?
Don't be nervous.
Don't be nervous. Good advice.
Yeah.
All right. there you've heard from a few of our 4-H and FFA members, kind of some of their projects that they've got here at the fair.
And that's pretty cool. I mean, you got a couple age varieties there, some younger ones and some older ones, I think. And
Yep.
But definitely good that, and everybody knows Ashley, right? I mean,
I don't know if I'd go that far. Infamous, maybe.
there you go.
Yeah.
Infamous. So I think maybe we'll take a quick break here while we're waiting until 2 o'clock, and then probably come back at 2 for the goat show, for the meat goat show.
Meat goats,
Yeah,
yep.
meat goats.
Yep.
Sounds pretty good. Thanks
Like-
again.
Yeah.
Go do your thing now. Got to take care of your kids. And
We'll go make sure everybody's. Today is pretty low key for the most part. I think all the meat goat kids have everything ready. Dairy goat kids are pretty well all done here now, and pigs, we just got to make sure everything's cozy till tomorrow. Cattle are all checked in, so they have kind of a slow day, and sheep will bring in a little later tonight when everything slows down. So kids have done a nice job so far. So
That's
I think kids as a whole, not even like our FFA and our Sweetland kids, but as a whole, I think kids have really done a nice job, and that's kind of the expectation,
Right.
kind of what you hope happens when you get to fair. So.
Yep. So we'll come back at 2. Chris and I, for sure, if you're still around, you're more than welcome.
I'm sure I'll be around somewhere. Whether or not I'm talking again may be a different story. I think you should try to grab that Sam Paul guy and
See if he can jump him
pick his
on.
brain, for a little bit, or somebody. I'm sure there'll be somebody around to pick a brain. Hey, maybe you can grab Tomatich. That'd be entertaining too.
Oh, boy. That would be entertaining. But, yeah, thanks again, and we'll come back at 2. And on behalf of Chris and myself, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more exciting stuff from the fair.
Woohoo!